If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. Leaving a like would help too, shows people that this video is good. And also, if you didn't know, I have a Discord where I discuss all my upcoming videos before YouTube even gets to see them. Link is in the description down below. Enjoy the video. So I haven't really been keeping track of it myself, but over the last 8 months or so, I've consistently made videos surrounding new Adachi and Shimamura releases, such as 99.9, SS, and Volume 12. It's crazy to me that I've already been following Volume 12 for over 6 months now, making videos on all the new translations and content surrounding those chapters. So with that in mind, I guess this is a fairly anticipated video. 6 months in the making, wow. Time flies. I was still in high school when I started following Volume 12. But with that said, it's finally time to put all my opinions together. We've seen all of Adachi and Shimamura Volume 12, so how was it? So for starters, Volume 12 is very similar to Volume 10 and 11. We see more chapters set in alternate timelines. In fact, the majority of Adachi and Shimamura Volume 12 chapters are set in alternate timelines. That's kind of the theme surrounding Volume 12. It's a volume full of hypotheticals. What if this? What if that? It feels very experimental. And kind of bridging onto that, we see a lot of new innovations in these chapters, such as rather than just being told how important Adachi and Shimamura's relationship is, like we have been throughout the whole series, we are shown firsthand as the world spirals out of control when their paths are diverted, or the Shimamura of an alternate timeline that is experiencing memories that haven't happened to her. There's a lot of new renditions here that I can't help but think that later down the line will possibly evolve into something more important to the story. There's a lot of stuff being brought in here. There's a lot more substance than previous volumes. But beyond that, when we do return to our main couple towards the end of Volume 12, it's clear that Adachi and Shimamura is changing. I think that Volume 12 will be the final volume before we really get into that change. But what do I mean? This is something that's kind of been building up from Volume 10 and so forth, but at this point, Adachi and Shimamura are now third-year students. Shimamura is aiming for college, planning to go to university. It's no longer an alternate timeline situation where Shimamura has abruptly grown up and now it's time to be an adult. No, we're witnessing this in real time. Towards the end of Volume 12, I feel like the atmosphere of the story changes. Adachi and Shimamura are beginning to leave this high school life behind. A life full of Shimamura and Adachi solely begins to enter the picture. And questions like, how will their life after high school be? How will they deal with everything by themselves? What will happen to them after so much exposure to one another? Questions like these, which have typically been ignored thus far, are pushed to the forefront of our characters' minds. Time doesn't allow for these questions to be stagnated. Where we are at in the story, it's time for questions like these to be pondered, decisions like these to be had. Only a few months ago, Iruma Hitoma let us know that Volume 12 will not be the final volume. So I can't help but wonder, will we get to see Adachi and Shimamura's college life? We've already seen future points like that on numerous occasions, but those aren't our main characters that we've been following. Will we get to see the fruition of 12 plus volumes? Will we get full-on college arcs with a new cast of characters? Will this story continue until our characters find a foundation for themselves? Shimamura still doesn't know what exactly she wants to do, nor does Adachi. What is Shimamura gonna pursue in college? What will Adachi do? She doesn't have that same aspiration regarding college that Shimamura does, so what path will she take? How will that impact them? I'm interested. I think that all Adachi and Shimamura fans should be interested at this point. We are at the point in Adachi and Shimamura where we can start speculating about things like this. All of this stuff is right around the corner. Volume 13, or whatever follows Volume 12, is likely going to be where this stuff springs into action. It may seem like there's a lot of high school Adachi and Shimamura left, but there's not. There's really not. In If Everything Were Normal, which is the final chapter of Volume 12, Shimamura is already considering preparing for the entrance exams. University entrance exams. And although we only receive one actual chapter regarding our main characters in Volume 12, that one chapter is more than enough to tell us where Adachi and Shimamura is heading. I'm not sure if Iruma intended for this to be, but it really sets the stage for what's to come. Keeping up with Volume 12 over the last 6 months has been a surreal experience. You can go back and watch through all my other Volume 12 videos. I've documented pretty much all of it when we've gotten translations. Volume 12 is a concrete turning point. Adachi and Shimamura is about to evolve. This series is about to change. Over the last few years of Adachi and Shimamura's publication, we've seen all sorts of future POVs. Hell, we've even seen the true ending of this series way back in Volume 8. We've seen so much. But simultaneously, almost in the corner of the room, the story has been gradually reaching these points that we've witnessed. This goes without saying, but this progression is very unique to Adachi and Shimamura. We have never seen a story develop like this, and I don't think it's an overstatement to say that we probably will never see another story, Yuri at least, unfold like this ever again. I touched on this in my previous Adachi and Shimamura video, but even despite all the changes and changes to be, Adachi and Shimamura still feels very Adachi and Shimamura. It doesn't feel like this series that you and I fell in love with is different. Shimamura is still as random as can be. Adachi is still an awkward mess. Yet the story is still evolving. Now, to conclude this video, I will be giving my opinions. Surprisingly, I rarely do this. I actually didn't notice this until you guys called it out at some point. So let me state how I feel. Not too long ago, we were under the impression that, after Volume 12, Adachi and Shimamura would be finished. Whatever we got in that volume was that. And as someone who loves this series, I was heartbroken. But after we got the news that isn't going to be the case, then we got this absolute blessing of a volume, I feel like there's an infinite amount of pathways that Adachi and Shimamura can take. To be honest, I would love for Adachi and Shimamura to take the Citrus and Kase-san route and maybe make a spin-off, Shimamura and Adachi, that instead follows their college endeavors. I'm interested and very devoted to the future of Adachi and Shimamura. There's still so much progression to be had. There's still so many promises to be fulfilled. So many things that still need to happen. Even though we saw the true ending of Adachi and Shimamura way back when in Volume 8, there was a 10-year time skip. There's 10 years worth of content there that needs to be explored. That goes beyond just college at that point. That's college, then life. There's so much here, and when I think about all of this, it feels overwhelming, but in a good way. Now, I know I just said a lot of words, I'm sorry. It's a surreal feeling, it really is. After all this series is still going strong. We don't know how much Adachi and Shimamura we have left, but just speculating, there's still so much that can be tapped into in this series. The world building in Adachi and Shimamura leaves so much room for this stuff, so there's only so many things I can speculate about. I've never really felt this way about a Yuri series before. I just haven't. Adachi and Shimamura is one of a kind. But what I'm trying to say is, I guess, is that I'm happy that this series is going to continue, and I'm glad that Volume 12 was executed the way that it was. Volume 12 sets the stage for future events, and it also left more room for Iruma Hitoma to be experimental, to provide us with more what-ifs, to provide us with more unique scenarios. I think though, if I'm being honest, I would like if Iruma stepped away from the futuristic volumes just a tiny bit, or the alternate timeline volumes. It's not that I don't like them, I do, but I feel like over these last few years of Adachi and Shimamura, we haven't really gotten that many chapters of our actual characters. Now let me actually go and fact check this like real time. I'm about to do it right now. Hold on. So in Volume 12, the only Adachi and Shimamura chapter we got was If Everything Were Normal. In 99.9, did we even get a single one? I don't think we got a single one. Yeah, in 99.9, I don't think we got a single one. In Volume 11, we only got Summer 18. Then in Volume 10, we only got the Sakura's arc and Cherry Blossoms for the two of us. Now keep in mind, Volume 10 was all the way back in 2021. So from 2021 to now, 4 years, we have only gotten 4 chapters of our actual characters. Now, I think that there's a certain charm in that, because these last few years have been dedicated to building the world in Adachi and Shimamura. Like in Volume 10, we got chapters like Fantasy Sister that gave us more insight to Shimamura's childhood. Volume 11 that gave more backstory regarding Shimamura. Just a lot of chapters like that. I think that while that is a very unique decision to make, bringing it back into our actual narrative would be what I personally want to see from Volume 13 and so forth. But again, I don't mind these experimental chapters whatsoever. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind them. I actually enjoy them. I really liked If Adachi Were a Novelist. That's probably my second favorite Volume 12 chapter. Well, actually third. But that said, that's really all I have to say, you guys. Now I'm curious. I have a few things I want to ask you guys. First, what was your favorite Volume 12 chapter? 2, how do you guys feel about the experimental chapters? And 3, what do you guys think is going to happen in Volume 13 and so on? Do you think that we are going to get a spin-off of Adachi and Shimamura, or do you think the story is going to continue going as is, with it even delving into Adachi and Shimamura's college endeavors? Basically, what do you guys think is set in place for Adachi and Shimamura? I'm really curious. Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. Leaving a like would help too. Shows people that this video is good. And also, if you didn't know, I have a Discord where I discuss all my upcoming videos before YouTube even gets to see them. Link is in the description down below.